Hey, and welcome back. So today's Monday again, and another chance to get healthy. Today we're going to be making one of my all-time favorites, and I'm sure I say that every week. But this is a Caprese Salad. Now this is what a typical one looks like, and it's just pretty much usually mozzarella, tomato, and basil with a vinaigrette and olive oil. But we're going to jazz this up a little bit and actually make it even more nutritious for you. So, as you guys know or don't know, I'm Dr. Patrick Garrett. I have a natural medicine clinic up in Newton, Kansas. And we help patients reverse acute and chronic conditions naturally, and the reason we're so successful is because of things like this. We treat food as medicine. So not only are we going to talk about how to make this, we're going to talk about the nutrition of this and how we can actually eat ourselves out of many diseases. So let's start with the key thing here. This is going to be a little bit different. We're going to actually use spinach, and we're going to make a traditional salad. We just spread this out a little bit, and usually about a cup of spinach. This is baby spinach, and again, any kind of green that you use, you want to use the darkest greens possible because there's more nutrition in there. So if you had a choice between head lettuce and spinach, this is going to be more nutrition. The other thing is that you'll notice that it's dark green, and of course, kale is probably the most nutritious lettuce there is. But spinach is definitely the next in line. But all that green is from a chemical that's structured just like in your blood called hemoglobin. And in plants we call it chlorophyll. And instead of having iron to make it red like our blood, chlorophyll has magnesium in the center, which means magnesium is for improving your gut function. So make sure you're not constipated or diarrhea. It's going to improve your sleep. It's going to improve your mood. It's also going to be a great natural muscle relaxer. So you typically don't think, well, I'm eating salad so I have less muscle spasms, but that's exactly what we're doing. Now, we have that nice little bed of lettuce, and then that takes us to our next part, which is tomato. And tomato, we want a nice big tomato, but again, the smaller the fruit, usually the more nutrition in there. Traditionally, we use a fairly large tomato with Caprese salad. And we want to cut this into 4 major chunks here, 4 big slices. And the tomato is this Italian dish, but even tomato wasn't really a Italian thing until about the 1500s. And it was brought over from the travelers that originally got it from the Aztecs. So it's truly an Aztec dish, if you will, for the tomato part. Tomato is also going to be really good in lycopene, which is a type of beta carotene. And most of us know that lycopene is really great for the heart. It's a great antioxidant to prevent heart disease, and that's, of course, the leading cause of death among women and men in the United States. But it also, most people don't know that, it actually prevents UV damage. And so for this summer, when you guys are out there in the sun, and instead of wearing toxic sunscreen, you want to eat more tomatoes. And a good way to remember that is eat red so you don't get red. If that makes sense. So really good for it. Men should eat lots of tomatoes because it's going to reduce what's called benign prostatic hypertrophy. So when you're eating the salad, you can have improved health, and even your prostate's going to be better. Now, traditionally we use mozzarella. And if you guys have used mozzarella before, you notice that it doesn't have any real taste to it. Now, the other food that has no real taste to it is tofu, extra firm tofu. And tofu is just a bean curd. So we're actually going to use that instead of mozzarella. And the reason is that mozzarella is condensed fat from dairy. And dairy has lots of estrogen in it, and it also has lots of insulin-like growth factor, which means more cancer, more heart disease, and we want to do the opposite, right? Tofu, on the other hand, which is going to, again, taste the same, is going to actually have isoflavones in there, and those isoflavones are going to improve your hormones. And so it's going to then balance things out like PMS, menopause, and infertility. So we want to use that. And these are just soy. And so you want to use organic. Same thing with the tomato, has more nutrition if it's organic. And that's going to provide you with far more nutrients. Now, if you can't get organic, you can't get vine ripened, always just get something that's real food. So your store-bought tomato that's green and gassed to look red, it has 241 nutrients missing versus a vine ripened, according to Harvard studies. But it's still going to be better than any other thing that we replace it with. So if you can grow your own, great. Get vine ripened, great. Soy, the same thing. Get organic if possible. If you get fermented, it's even better because it's going to be full of probiotics. Now, soy often gets a bad rap because it's, they say it's a weak estrogen, so they're concerned about that, but really dairy is the thing we're concerned with. Now, the next thing that we want to add is basil. Now, I got this basil from my plant in the office, so I actually had to go back to the office and pull off some leaves here. This is great. Of course, you use it in your tea. You just eat this stuff all throughout the day, but it's wonderful. That's going to provide you with a lot of probiotic food. It's going to be a natural antibiotic, so it'll kill off good, bad bacteria, but it'll actually enhance good bacteria. So a diet with lots of that is excellent. Now, the next thing we're going to put on here, and this looks like a big mess, is what's called balsamic reduction. So you can use just balsamic, or what you do is take a cup of balsamic vinegar, and you're going to actually boil that down with about 2 tablespoons of honey. And just let it get thick, keep stirring it, let it get thick until it gets that right kind of consistency. And you're going to take that, and I just put it in a baggie and put a little hole in the bottom, but you can take that and drizzle it over, and that will really bring out the flavor of everything. Alright, so nice and messy. And of course, balsamic vinegar is from Trebbiano grapes, which is the second most popular grape in France, and it dates back to the Greeks, and they called it curative. So we're going to use olive oil, prevents heart disease. We're just going to drizzle a little bit over this. Again, the countries that eat the most olives, the most healthy fats, actually have the least amount of heart attacks. We're going to finish with finishing salt, and we're just going to sprinkle a little bit over. Again, salt's not a problem as long as you're the one adding it. If you're buying food that has salt in it, then it's probably not a good thing. We get 80 to 90% of our excess salt just from packaged food. And of course, the goal for the manufacturers is how can I produce something that is going to last forever, and if it has a longer shelf life, you usually end up with a shorter shelf life. So make sure to stay away from processed food with lots of salt, but when it comes to flavoring your own food, salt is wonderful. So this is an excellent dish for you, and it's great for the whole family. It's great as a little appetizer, and we're going to meet you guys back after this commercial. Thanks.
Welcome back. I'm talking with my mouth full. I'm here with Dr. Garrett, and I just had a bite of that Caprese salad. That is really, really good. And there's so few ingredients.
Right, and that's what I encourage for most patients, is it doesn't have to be this overly complex, culinary experience. You just slap some foods together that make these delicious, nutritious foods. And that's, we took 8 minutes to make it, but at home it took maybe like 4 minutes to actually make that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's pretty.
Yeah.
Presentation is everything. But like you said before, making food your medicine, and it makes a lot of sense because I have sciatica. I've talked about that on the air before. And since I gave up wheat products, I don't eat breads, cereals, pastas. I'm trying, and I'm probably not 100% compliant with that, but I'm doing the best I can. But I've noticed since then that I have fewer problems with my sciatica. I can walk fairly painlessly and function like I should, and I feel younger.
Exactly. Well, it's food really plays a part. Change your mood, change your food. And that truly is the key, because not only is this stuff healthy for us, but it's replacing the stuff that makes us feel horrible.
Yeah.
And usually that wheat, we don't even know how much inflammation that it causes, and we just feel tired all the time, we feel depressed all the time. And these things help switching or adding more food, but the key is also stop eating the stuff that causes the problem.
Right, right. Well, and I never would have thought that it would have made that much difference. I'd heard people say it before, I'd heard people talk about it before, but I didn't really apply it to myself. And then when I did, I thought, man, I wish I'd done this sooner.
That's right.
Because it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, and with most of us, we should live a good 100 years, but with quality of life. And most of us are pretty gone by our 30s. I mean, we're just emotionally and physically drained by then. So you live a longer life in the U.S., but the quality's gone.
Yeah.
And food is tied so much to that. We had your friend Jan. She actually Facebooked me and said she went up to somewhere, some other state, and she went to her daughter's wedding, and she said at 64 she's out dancing the night away, and the elevator was broken. She actually went upstairs without any problems, and she said this is the first time that she felt younger in a long time.
Yeah.
And whereas before, eating the stuff that most people eat in the U.S. with lots of dairy and lots of wheat, she couldn't have done that. She would have just been a wallflower.
Yeah, it's just really incredible how much difference it makes. And this, people think when you eat healthy, it's not going to taste good.
Right.
And
right.
it does. It tastes better.
Yeah, the reduction sauce on this, it's just a simple balsamic vinaigrette with honey.
Uh-huh.
And
what's the ratio?
It's about 2 tablespoons of honey to a cup of balsamic vinegar.
Okay.
And then you can put that over anything. And so, tomatoes don't have a strong flavor. Basil does.
Uh-huh.
But the tofu, or even if you use mozzarella, doesn't have a strong flavor. But yeah, those sauces are wonderfully healthy and just make everything taste awesome.
Yeah, they really enhance because I was just going to mention that tomato was awesome. And I don't buy store-bought tomatoes very often because there's no flavor.
Right.
They're pretty bland. But if somebody gives me a good homegrown tomato, I like those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, tomatoes are interesting because most people don't know that they're actually picked green so that they transport easier. And then they take I think it's a methylated ethylene gas canister, and they throw it in the truck, seal the doors, and the gas turns those green tomatoes into bright red, delicious looking tomatoes. But when you eat it, there's no juice.
Yeah.
There's no flavor.
Yeah.
You're eating a green tomato. And Harvard study that showed that there's 241 missing nutrients from a store-bought tomato versus a vine ripened. And that's why it's so important to either grow your own or just find someone who does, or buy vine ripened from the store, which is now available, which is good.
Yeah. Well, and there has to be a certain amount of truth in advertising. If they say it's vine ripened, it has to be.
Oh, I hope so. It's always tough, even in my field where I'm supposed to know all this stuff. I still sometimes am sitting there bewildered at the store, reading labels, wondering, okay, well, what is this thing that they added to this?
Well, and to me, when you start reading labels, if you read so many words that you don't understand, maybe it's best just to put it back on the shelf.
That's right. You want something that came from a plant, grown from a plant, not created in a plant.
Good point.
So no laboratory experiments.
Well, I really appreciate you being here today, and we'll see you next Monday.
Yeah.
Do you know yet what you're doing next Monday?
Yeah, we're going to make a pumpkin spice soup with a little bit of ginger.
That
And
sounds
so it's
good.
great for the hormones.
Cool. Well, we'll be back with 43 reports at RJ Dickens, so stay with us.